Hi, I'm DelusionDispeller, back to talk to you more about obligation to an abuser, especially someone that is a so-called parent. I was talking about scriptures and how a lot of people will throw scriptures up at you. Well, honor your father and mother, children obey your parents, etc. First you have to determine, are they parents or are they abusers? There cannot be both, because a parent that's a true parent does not abuse their children. Just like a Christian cannot be a narcissist, because the two cannot dwell together. Light does not dwell with darkness. Narcissism, if you want to say so, could be very demonically inspired in somebody. And you cannot follow the devil and serve God at the same time. The two would be totally opposed and warring constantly, and you wouldn't even have a whole person there. So you're either hot or you're cold. You could be lukewarm, and I think if we know the Bible, God says he'll vomit a lukewarm person out of his mouth, so that's not even a good thing to do. If you want to know how Jesus thinks of children, think about the story where his followers were pushing the children away and telling them not to bother the master. And Jesus scolded them and said, no, let the little children come to me. Now, if Jesus expected people to be allowed to beat on children or torture a child or harm a child, would he have rebuked and scolded his followers and told them, no, let the children come to me? No, he wouldn't have. So right there tells you what Jesus thinks of children. He also said that if anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better if a millstone were tied around their neck and they were drowned in the depths of the sea. So I think Jesus is pretty forthright in what he thinks of child abuse, at least by my belief system, which is the Bible. Speaking of the Bible, let's go on with some more scriptures that really explain what toxic abuse is about and these abusers. 2 Timothy 3, 1-5 says, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with them. I love this verse because I have talked to so many people that said, yeah, but I was raised in a household where the Bible was opened up and I was told I was going to hell if I wasn't a good little girl or a good little boy. And my mom told me that I had to obey everything she said or God would be mad at me. Right here, it tells you what these people are all about. Even that person that so-called raised you was not obviously obedient to their parent. It's something that goes down the line like a chain, like a cycle. So they can't properly discipline and love you if they did not honor their parent, because chances were their parent was abusive. Narcissism and toxic abuse runs in families. It's up to you to put your foot down and say no more. Someone has to stop the cycle. And I remember somebody telling me that a long time ago, that when there's child abuse that goes on, someone has to finally say, no more. It's not going to happen. I'm going to get the help I need. I'm not abusing my child. I'm not going to teach my children to abuse their children. It's all about that. You don't come into this world with the knowledge of how to raise a child at all. And if you come into this world and you're abused yourself, you have a tendency to be abusive as well sometimes. So it's all about stopping that cycle. And narcissists often can't stop the cycle because they don't see that there is a cycle. And that's where, as I've told you before, that takes extensive counseling, extensive isolation from narcissistic supply, reprogramming, journaling, and taking that person back through childhood and back through the things that caused them to put up these defenses that they lived through, to see the world through this distorted way that they do, and to abuse people in their path. But they have to do that. They have to get that help. It's not up to you to stay there and be their scapegoat. You're not helping them. You're enabling them, just like an addict. So, let's do a little verse here. 2 Timothy 3, 6-9. This also talks about toxic people. They are the kind who worm their way into homes and gain control over weak-willed women. They are the kind who are loaded down with sins and swayed by all kinds of evil desires, always learning but never able to acknowledge the truth. These men oppose the truth, men of depraved minds, who, as far as the faith is concerned, are rejected. But they will not get very far because their folly or their foolishness will be clear to everyone. True, some narcissists don't get very far because people warn other people about it. A lot of times people come to me and say, do you think I should tell this new supply source that he's like that? Yes, you probably should. However, chances are, if he's in the wooing process and the idealization phase with this new person or she, they're not going to listen to you anyway. They're going to say, well, you're just jealous because he or she broke up with you and now they're with me. They'll find out for themselves. Everybody does. So, anyways, so those are a couple scriptures that tell you what manner of people these are that we're talking about. How do we, let's talk a little bit more about honoring these reprobate, toxic people that some people know as parents, which I don't. First of all, you don't return evil for evil. That's one thing the Bible says. If they're mean to you, you don't be mean back to them. It doesn't mean keep going back for more evilness. It just means don't retaliate. You need to honor them by not wanting to take revenge on them, but to basically pray for them that God will redeem them somehow. Also, pray for their salvation and for them to get delivered and have a breakthrough. You can honor them by leaving them in the hands of the Lord, leaving them to fate, whatever you want to call it, and not seeking to try to change them or fix them because you can't anyway. Let God do his work and get a hold of them because only he can get to them, or the professionals that he puts in charge of handling people like that. Do not enable them. Allow them to experience consequences for their behavior. Don't walk up behind them and tell the person next to them, oh, well, mom's just had a bad day, or she's tired, or, you know, she gets grouchy sometimes, or whatever. No, don't make excuses for their behavior. Don't allow them to continue to abuse you. Don't allow yourself to be in that situation. Don't keep going to the family events if they keep attacking you every time you're there. Just refuse to go. Insist that they get help. And keep them away from people that they can damage, like your children, for instance. You're not obligated to let grandma, quote unquote, be the grandmother just because you spawned a child and she happened to be the person that spawned you. That does not make her a grandmother. She's still toxic and still abusive until she gets help, or he if it's a guy. Keep no contact. If you've decided to go no contact or limited contact, stick to it. Stick to it during holidays. It's very important, especially holidays, because those can be some of the worst times. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. I already told you that. Let's see. Make sure the family knows what's going on. Don't sit and play we're all one big happy family and pretend that mom is really mom when mom was torturing and abusing the children all their lives. That's not okay. Mom, quote unquote, does not have to even be part of family gatherings. Neither does, quote unquote, dad if they weren't truly mom and dad. Unless they've changed their ways, they've gotten help, they realize what they did was wrong, and they're truly trying to start over again. Which, with a narcissist or a sociopath, probably not a likely thing to be happening. So, anyways, do I think you should honor your father and mother? Yes, if they were a father and mother. If you still want to honor them, even though I might deem that they were not parents, fine. But protect yourself and set up your boundaries and keep your boundaries and let them know what your boundaries are and that there are consequences if they violate them. So, that was my thing on obligation. You don't need to feel obligated. They have groomed you to feel obligated. It's your choice now as a grown adult whether you want to keep going back for more abuse or whether you're ready to put your foot down. I talked to somebody recently who all her life she was put down, she was told she was good for nothing, and even at her job, people took advantage of her. To the point where finally they blamed her for things that weren't even her fault. And this young lady finally stood up and told these people, you know what, I'm done being your pushover. From now on, if you want help with that, I'll help you as much as I can, but you're going to do it on your own. I'm not doing everything for you. She decided to stop becoming an enabler and a scapegoat, and I'm very proud of her. Anyways, so you have to put the boundaries there, and you got to stick to them. This has been a little bit lengthier than I had hoped, so I'm sorry about that, but hopefully you got some useful information out of it. I do want to give credit where credit is due. These principles that I've talked to you about came from Postcards to a Narcissist. I'm going to try to post that link in my video so that you guys can all check on her site or his site. I don't know if it's a lady or a man. I assume it's a lady. Anyways, I want you to make sure that you read her WordPress documents and realize that none of this is mine. I'm not gaining any monetary value from any of these two videos that I just made, but I did want this information to get to you. And maybe you aren't somebody that likes to read lengthy things, or maybe you just didn't feel like going to the site or whatever. So now you have it on video, just little bits and pieces. But her site is much more extensive, so I encourage you, go there and read it and check it out. It's very, very good. Very well done. So anyways, thank you for watching. I'm DelusionDispeller. Keep your comments and your questions coming, and I'll do my best to get to them and answer them and take care of whatever your need is. God bless you, and have a great day.